What makes a human mind truly unshakable? In a world that constantly pulls us in every direction, with social media, political chaos, personal struggles, and endless expectations, most people are easily broken. They collapse under criticism. They run from discomfort, and they become slaves to fear, anxiety, and the opinions of others. But Carl Jung, one of the most profound psychologists of the modern age, discovered something radically different. The strongest minds are not those shielded from suffering, but those forged by it. Jung believed that the key to inner strength lies in understanding the hidden architecture of the psyche, and that once you unlock certain inner secrets, you become untouchable. Not because the world stops attacking you, but because nothing external can destroy the core of who you are. Jung's work was not about surface-level positivity or quick fixes. He didn't believe in avoiding pain or hiding behind a mask of success. Instead, he taught that real transformation comes from turning inward, facing the shadow, uncovering the hidden archetypes that live inside us, and connecting with a deeper self beyond the fragile ego. These are not ideas meant for academics alone. They are lifelines for anyone who wants to stop being controlled by fear, by trauma, by social pressure, or by the ghosts of their past. In this video, we'll uncover 8 powerful secrets from Carl Jung that can make your mind untouchable. Each one will challenge how you see yourself, your struggles, and even your purpose in life. Some of them will be uncomfortable to hear, because Jung never sugarcoated the truth, but if you stay with me until the end, you'll see how these principles form a shield that no chaos, no manipulation, and no inner fear can break. Most people spend their entire lives running away from the parts of themselves they don't want to see. They hide their anger, their jealousy, their greed, and their secret fears behind carefully constructed masks of politeness and social acceptance. Jung called this the shadow, the collection of everything you reject about yourself and push into the unconscious. The problem is, the more you suppress the shadow, the stronger it becomes. It leaks out through sudden bursts of rage, self-sabotage, addictions, and toxic relationships. When you deny your shadow, you don't actually escape it. You simply hand it the power to control you from the dark. This is where Jung revealed his first great secret: integration makes you untouchable. To integrate the shadow does not mean you indulge your worst instincts or let them run wild. It means you acknowledge them, name them, and bring them into the light of consciousness. When you admit, "Yes, I have the capacity for anger, envy, lust, and cruelty," you take away the shadow's ability to sneak up on you. What once could be used against you through guilt, shame, or manipulation loses its sting. Nobody can blackmail you with what you've already owned. Imagine 2 people, one who hides their anger and pretends to be endlessly kind, and another who openly admits, "Yes, I can be angry, and I know how to channel it productively." The first person is fragile, because when their anger finally surfaces, it explodes uncontrollably, and others can easily provoke or manipulate them. The second person, however, is unshakable. Their anger is a tool, not a weakness. Their awareness transforms the shadow into a source of strength. Jung warned that refusing the shadow makes you dangerously incomplete. It creates a split personality, the smiling persona you show the world, and the repressed shadow that erupts when you least expect it. But those who dare to meet their shadow through reflection, dream analysis, or radical honesty become whole. And wholeness is power. Shadow integration also changes how you view other people. When you recognize your own darkness, you stop projecting it onto others. You are no longer quick to judge, condemn, or demonize. Instead, you see the hidden struggles behind their actions. This doesn't mean you tolerate abuse or weakness. It means you're no longer fooled by appearances. You see people as they are, because you have seen yourself as you truly are. That clarity makes you immune to manipulation, gaslighting, and flattery alike. The untouchable mind begins here by owning what others are too afraid to face. Jung once wrote, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." That is the heart of shadow integration. It is not glamorous, it is not comfortable, but it is the first and most essential secret of psychological resilience. Once you stop fearing your own darkness, the world's darkness can no longer break you. From the moment we are born, society hands us masks to wear. We are told to be the good child, the dutiful student, the responsible worker. These roles shape what Jung called the persona, the socially acceptable identity we project to the world. The persona is not inherently bad. It allows us to function, to play our part, to be recognized in the collective. But here lies the danger. If you mistake the mask for your true self, you become fragile, constantly dependent on approval, terrified of rejection. The persona cracks the moment life does not affirm it. Jung's second great secret is individuation, the process of becoming whole. Individuation is not about perfection or fitting into society's standards. It is about reconciling every aspect of yourself into one integrated being. Instead of living only as the mask, you begin to unite the persona with the shadow, the conscious with the unconscious, the masculine with the feminine, the rational with the emotional. Individuation transforms you from a fragmented identity into a complete human. Why does this make your mind untouchable? Because once you know who you truly are, no external judgment can shake you. If your sense of worth comes from likes, promotions, or other people's praise, then you will always be at their mercy. But if your sense of worth is grounded in the wholeness of your being, criticism and rejection lose their power. You no longer fear failure, because failure only attacks the mask, not the self. Individuation also frees you from comparison. When you are whole, you no longer waste energy trying to live someone else's life or chasing society's shallow ideals. Instead, you follow your inner compass. Jung believed that each person has a unique blueprint, a path toward self-realization. Individuation is the process of uncovering that path, not imitating someone else's. The more you align with it, the less vulnerable you become to envy, competition, or despair. Think of it like this. The persona is a paper house easily destroyed by storms. Individuation builds the stone temple of the self. Storms still come, but the foundation stands firm. Jung saw individuation as life's ultimate goal, not wealth, not fame, not status. To become who you are is the greatest achievement and the greatest defense against a world that tries to shape you into something else. In a society that thrives on conformity, individuation is an act of rebellion, but it is also liberation. By stepping into your whole self, you gain a stability that no external chaos can take away. Jung called this the journey of becoming whole rather than good. And in wholeness lies invincibility. Inside every human psyche lives a hidden library of ancient patterns, what Jung called the archetypes. They are not fantasies or mere stories. They are universal blueprints of human experience embedded deep within the collective unconscious. The archetypes are the hero, the sage, the warrior, the lover, the trickster, the creator, the ruler, and countless others. They appear in myths, religions, dreams, and even modern movies because they are older than culture itself. And here lies Jung's third secret. When you recognize and activate these archetypes within you, you gain access to inner allies that make your mind untouchable. Most people think they are alone in their struggles, But Jung discovered that we are never truly alone. When you feel crushed by fear, the warrior archetype lives within you, ready to rise. When you are lost in confusion, the sage archetype whispers ancient wisdom. When life feels meaningless, the creator archetype pushes you to transform suffering into art invention or beauty. Archetypes give you a psychological arsenal. The tragedy is that most people never learn to access them, so they stumble through life, cut off from their inner power. What makes archetypes so powerful is that they are not merely ideas, they are energies. When you consciously embody an archetype, you change how you think, how you stand, how you act. A timid person who channels the warrior suddenly feels a surge of courage. An arrogant person who calls on the lover feels compassion softening their pride. By knowing the archetypes within you can shift into the role the moment demands without losing your true self. This flexibility makes you resilient. Instead of being stuck in fear, you move between inner guides like a skilled traveler navigating a vast landscape. But there is also danger. Archetypes, if unconscious, can possess you. A person unaware of their inner king may become a tyrant. One consumed by the trickster may become deceitful and destructive. Jung taught that the key is awareness. When you consciously recognize an archetype at play, you can use it as a tool rather than be ruled by it. Awareness transforms possession into power. Archetypes also change how you interpret your own story. Life stops feeling random when you see yourself as the hero, crossing the threshold, the seeker on a quest, or the sage returning with wisdom. Your suffering becomes initiation, your failures become trials, and your victories become moments of integration. Archetypes give your life narrative structure, and that structure gives you strength to endure. This is why Jung called myths the collective dreams of humanity. They are not just old tales, they are maps of the psyche. And when you learn to read those maps, you realize you carry every hero, every gutuan, every archetype within yourself. That realization is unwickable. No matter what storms hit you from the outside, you can call upon the inner king, the inner warrior, the inner healer, and continue forward. To know your archetypes is to never walk alone. To embody them consciously is to hold an inner council of wisdom and power. This is Jung's third secret. Once you learn to summon your inner guides, your mind can never again be broken by isolation, confusion, or despair. Human beings crave certainty. We want clear answers, fixed identities, black and white truths that make us feel safe in a chaotic world. But Jung discovered that the psyche does not grow in certainty. It grows in paradox. Life constantly presents us with contradictions. Love and hate, strength and weakness, joy and sorrow, freedom and responsibility. Most people try to escape this tension by choosing one side and denying the other. They cling to positivity and suppress negativity, or they glorify logic and dismiss emotion. But the result is fragility. The moment the denied side breaks through their worldview, collapses. Jung's fourth secret is that the untouchable mind does not run from paradox. It embraces it. He wrote, "The greater the contrast, the deeper the potential." Great energy only comes from a corresponding tension of opposites. To hold paradox means you can feel fear and courage, at the same time grief and gratitude in the same breath, doubt and faith within the same heart. Instead of collapsing under contradiction, you grow stronger because of it. This ability to live with paradox is rare because it requires patience. The human ego wants quick solutions, but Jung taught that true transformation happens when you allow opposing forces within you to coexist until a new synthesis emerges. He called this holding the tension of opposites. Imagine a string pulled tight between two poles. If you cut it, the energy vanishes. But if you hold it steady, the tension becomes power, and something new is born from it. Think about real-life people who cannot embrace paradox, are easily manipulated. If someone believes only in goodness, they can be blindsided by evil. If someone sees only logic, they collapse when emotion overwhelms them. But a person who accepts paradox cannot be trapped. They know that light contains shadow, and shadow contains Rito. They know that certainty is an illusion, and growth lives in complexity. Paradox also makes you compassionate. When you realize that you too carry contradictions, strength and weakness, kindness and cruelty, you stop judging others as purely good or evil. You see them as whole human beings, struggling with the same inner battles. This clarity protects you from naive trust, but also from blind hatred. You see reality as it is, not as a fantasy. The untouchable mind is not rigid, it is flexible, dynamic, able to bend without breaking. Jung saw this as a form of psychological alchemy. Opposites are like base metals, and by holding them together, the psyche transforms them into gold. That gold is wisdom, resilience, and untouchable. To embrace paradox is to live beyond illusion. It is to accept that life is not either or, but both and. When you stop demanding certainty and begin living with the richness of contradiction, no single loss, no single failure, no single fear can break you. Instead, everything becomes part of your wholeness. That is why paradox, uncomfortable though it may be, is one of Jung's greatest keys to an indestructible mind. For most people, dreams are nothing more than strange nightly movies forgotten upon waking, dismissed as meaningless or remembered only for their oddity. But Jung insisted that dreams are not random. They are messages from the unconscious, written in the symbolic language of the psyche. To ignore them is to cut yourself off from half your own mind. To listen to them is to access guidance warnings and strength that your waking self cannot provide. This is Jung's fifth secret. Those who take their dreams seriously become untouchable because they have access to a hidden compass when the conscious mind fails. The unconscious, Jung taught, is like an ancient ocean beneath the surface of your awareness. In it swim the forgotten parts of yourself, ancestral memories, collective archetypes, and unprocessed emotions. When you sleep, the boundary between the conscious and unconscious weakens, and the ocean sends waves onto the shore of your awareness in the form of dreams. Each image, no matter how bizarre, carries meaning. A house may represent the structure of your psyche. A snake may symbolize transformation. A stranger in a dream may be a hidden part of yourself demanding recognition. When you begin to analyze your dreams, not with shallow dream dictionaries, but through reflection and symbolic exploration, you start a dialogue with the unconscious. You ask, "What is this dream showing me that I refuse to see while awake?" Sometimes the dream will reveal a fear you're avoiding. Sometimes it will offer a solution your rational mind missed. Sometimes it will show you the path forward when your ego feels lost. By learning to interpret and integrate dream symbols, you unlock a second intelligence, a deeper, older wisdom that makes your waking life more resilient. Dreams also protect you from being blindsided by your own unconscious. Many people are destroyed by impulses they don't understand, sudden addictions, reckless decisions, destructive relationships. Jung observed that the unconscious always speaks first in dreams. If you ignore it, the message intensifies until it bursts out in destructive behavior. But if you honor it, you catch the message early. Dreams warn you before collapse, heal you before despair, and remind you that you are more than your waking identity. Consider how untouchable this makes you. The average person lives only in daylight consciousness, stumbling blind through the dark half of their psyche. But the Jungian sees in both worlds. They are guided not only by rational plans, but by the whispers of the unconscious. That dual awareness gives them balance, creativity, and foresight. They may still face storms in life, but they carry an inner map drawn by their own psyche. Jung once said, "The dream is the small hidden door in the deepest and most intimate sanctum of the soul. To walk through that door is to discover resources you never knew you had. Courage when you feel weak. Guidance when you feel lost. Warnings when danger approaches. Those who treat their dreams as sacred become grounded in a wisdom that no manipulation, no chaos, and no enemy can shatter." Life constantly pulls us in opposite directions. Part of us wants safety. Another part craves freedom. One voice inside demands logic, while another whispers emotion. We long for intimacy, but fear losing independence. Most people resolve these conflicts by suppressing one side, choosing reason, and denying feeling, clinging to security, and rejecting adventure. But this repression creates inner imbalance, leaving the person rigid, predictable, and ultimately, fragile. Jung's sixth secret reveals a different path: the transcendent function. The transcendent function is not about choosing one side over the other. It is about bringing opposites into dialogue until something new emerges. Jung believed that true psychological transformation happens when conflicting forces are held together long enough for the psyche to create a third option, one that transcends both extremes. It is like alchemy. When fire and water are combined in the right vessel, they create steam, a new form, with new power. Consider fear and courage. Most people think they must eliminate fear to become brave. But Jung saw the truth: courage is born only when fear is acknowledged and integrated. The transcendent function does not destroy fear, it transforms it into fuel. Or think about despair and hope. If you deny despair, you live in shallow optimism. If you deny hope, you drown in nihilism. But if you allow both to coexist, something higher appears: wisdom, which carries both the weight of suffering and the light of possibility. This process makes your mind untouchable because you are no longer trapped in false choices. Instead of being torn apart by inner conflict, you let the tension itself create transformation. Jung warned that this takes discipline because the ego hates ambiguity. The ego wants resolution now, but the transcendent function requires patience, holding the contradictions until a deeper synthesis appears. Those who master this inner alchemy are unshakable because they can face conflict without collapsing or fleeing. The transcendent function also expands creativity. Artists, inventors, and visionaries who access it can combine opposites: chaos and order, tradition and innovation, beauty and horror, into works of power. In ordinary life, it allows you to navigate complexity. Instead of reacting with rigidity, you adapt with insight. Instead of being broken by contradiction, you are renewed by it. Jung described this as a dialogue between the conscious and unconscious, through dreams, active imagination, or reflective thought. The psyche presents images that reconcile opposites. When you engage with them instead of rejecting them, you step into a higher level of wholeness. This is not fantasy. It is the deep mechanism of growth. To live the transcendent function is to stop choosing between pieces of yourself and begin uniting them. It is to discover that fear can birth courage, pain can birth compassion, shadow can birth light. The untouchable mind is not one that avoids conflict, but one that transforms conflict into strength. When life becomes unbearable, it is not usually because of pain itself, but because the pain feels meaningless. Jung observed that people can endure incredible suffering if they believe it serves a purpose, but even small discomforts can break those who see no why behind them. This insight echoes Friedrich Nietzsche's famous line, which Jung often quoted: "He who has a why to live can bear almost anyhow." And here lies Jung's seventh secret meaning, is the ultimate armor of the psyche. Modern society pushes shallow substitutes for meaning: status, money, pleasure, recognition, but these crumble when crisis strikes. A career can be lost overnight. Beauty fades. Applause disappears. If your identity is built only on these, the collapse of one piece of your life feels like the collapse of your entire self. But Jung believed that true resilience comes from a deeper meaning, one rooted not in external validation, but in your connection to the self, the totality of your being. Meaning emerges when you recognize your struggles as part of a larger journey. Trauma stops being only random cruelty and becomes initiation. Failure stops being humiliation and becomes a lesson. Even grief becomes a sacred teacher. Jung called this process psychological alchemy, where life's raw suffering is transformed into inner gold. This is not about denying the reality of pain. It is about weaving pain into a story that gives you strength instead of despair. Consider two people facing the same tragedy. One asks, "Why me?" and sinks into bitterness. The other asks, "What is this teaching me? How can I grow from this and find strength even in loss?" The situation is identical, but the second person holds the shield of meaning. Nothing can truly break them, because every blow becomes part of their transformation. Jung warned that without meaning, people fall prey to nihilism, an emptiness that drives addiction, depression, or blind conformity. But with meaning, the human spirit becomes nearly indestructible. This is why people who endure hardship often emerge wiser, calmer, and more grounded than those who avoid it. They have discovered that suffering is not the enemy. Meaninglessness is. Finding meaning does not require grand spiritual revelations. It can be as simple as devoting yourself to growth, creating something that outlives you, loving others deeply, or aligning with your unique path of individuation. What matters is that the story you tell yourself connects your struggles to something larger than your ego. That story becomes your anchor in chaos, your compass in darkness, your shield against despair. An untouchable mind is not one without wounds, but one that transforms wounds into wisdom. Meaning is the fire that forges resilience, and once you carry it, no loss, no suffering, and no uncertainty can destroy you. At the center of Jung's psychology lies a truth so profound that it transcends therapy culture and even religion to the self. Most people mistake their ego, the conscious I, that thinks, decides, and plans for the whole of who they are. But Jung revealed that the ego is only a fragment, a small island floating on the vast ocean of the psyche. Beneath it lies the unconscious, both personal and collective, and at the deepest point of that ocean rests the self, the totality of the psyche, the organizing principle that integrates all opposites and connects us to something greater than ourselves. Jung's eighth secret is that contact with the self makes the mind untouchable. Why? Because the ego is fragile. It crumbles under failure, rejection, or humiliation. It clings desperately to control, and when life shatters its illusions, it collapses into despair. But the self is unshakable. It is the root that holds firm when storms tear at the branches. When a person begins to align with the self, they discover a grounding that no external event can undo. The self often appears in dreams and symbols. The mandala, the circle, the divine child, the wise old man, the sacred marriage. These are not random images. They are the psyche's way of pointing you back to your own center. Jung noted that people who connect with these symbols experience a sense of balance, harmony, and purpose that transcends daily anxieties. They realize they are part of a larger order, and this realization makes them resilient in the face of chaos. To live in connection with the self is to experience wholeness. It does not mean you never feel fear or sadness, but those feelings no longer define you. The ego says, "I am broken," but the self says, "I contain both brokenness and healing." The ego says, "I have failed," but the self says, "Failure is only one part of a larger pattern." In the self, contradictions are reconciled, wounds are integrated, and life is seen from a higher perspective. This is not abstract philosophy. It is practical resilience. A person grounded in the self can lose a job, a relationship, even their reputation, and still stand firm because their worth does not depend on any of those. Their identity is not borrowed from society. It is rooted in the wholeness of being. This kind of grounding makes manipulation nearly impossible. Flattery cannot inflate them, criticism cannot crush them, and fire cannot control them. Jung described the self as both the innermost center of the psyche and a bridge to the divine. To touch it is to feel both deeply human and deeply connected to something beyond human. And once you taste that connection, you cannot be shattered by life's storms. That is the ultimate mystery. The untouchable mind is not built by the ego's defenses, but by surrendering to the self's wholeness. So where does all of this leave us? We've walked through 8 of Carl Jung's most powerful secrets principles that don't just strengthen the mind, but transform it into something almost untouchable. We began with the shadow, learning that by owning what we fear in ourselves, we disarm its power over us. We uncovered the path of individuation, where the mask of the persona falls away so that the self can emerge whole. We explored the archetypes that live inside us, showing us that we are never truly alone, but guided by timeless inner allies. We saw the strength that comes from embracing paradox, holding contradictions without breaking. We recognized the wisdom hidden in dreams, the unconscious whispering guidance in the night. We studied the transcendent function where opposites are transformed into something higher. We understood the resilience born from meaning, the shield that carries us through suffering. And finally, we reached the mystery of the self, the unshakable center that grounds us beyond the fragile ego. What makes these secrets so revolutionary is that they are not external tricks or temporary hacks. They are inner structures available to anyone willing to look inward with honesty and courage. Most people spend their lives protecting a fragile ego, polishing the mask of the persona, and avoiding their own unconscious. But the untouchable mind is not built on avoidance, it is built on integration. It is built on truth. Jung's wisdom demands something from us. It demands that we stop living superficially and start confronting the depths of who we are. It asks us to face the darkness we've denied, to listen to the dreams we've ignored, to hold contradictions without fleeing, and to seek meaning where others see only despair. It is not an easy path, but Jung never promised comfort. He promised transformation. And transformation is what makes the mind indestructible. So the challenge is simple but profound. Which of these 8 secrets will you begin practicing today? Will you start by noticing the shadow in your daily reactions? Will you record your dreams tonight? Will you sit with a paradox instead of forcing it away? Every small step toward wholeness makes you less fragile, less dependent, and less vulnerable to the chaos of the world. The world will never stop testing you. But as Jung showed us, the true fortress is not built outside. It is built within. And once you discover that inner fortress, you realize the truth. The strongest mind is not the one that avoids suffering, but the one that transforms suffering into wisdom.